Why would you want to open up a high-rise hotel in a regulated market like New York? In the time it takes you to just get the permit, you could have tried out like 12 different concepts. And one in the Catskills, one out on the North Fork, one in Jersey.
Hotels are part of the community. They provide jobs, they bring in business, they bring in new people, they bring in experiences.
The world's going to be accessible. You find a unique spot with a unique concept, gets you off the ground.
We always talk about AI is going to take jobs away. That makes your ability to have human interactions much more, and so that you can focus on bigger things.
We're going to be looking for things that makes us feel human. The role of the operator is going to be essentially more guest facing, and the system part is just going to be more just tracking what the system does.
You know, if you want to work at a hotel, it's not a traditional 9 to 5, right? It's not Monday through Friday. There's different holidays, there's different kind of schedules. And that opens up the ability to be a lot more flexible.
Hospitality is really hard. Sacrifices that you make, it's more flexibility, but they're going to be demanding jobs. Fun if you like people, you want to be around people. The more kind of rigid of well-managed workflows, I don't know if this is the industry for that.
How did your class finish up?
Well, they loved it. They're off for their summer break.
But do you have some good actionable plans from your class?
Yeah, no, I mean, I wish there were I wish they all had a free cursor, subscription. They could just actually literally spin up those things. No, there were quite a few interesting ideas. Some of them a little bit generic, even if I try to make them really narrow.
Yeah. There's two that reached out to me asking.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One from the in-person, the one I was talking about, the night audit, I can't remember her name. And then on the virtual one, one I was very engaged, asked a lot of questions.
Yeah.
That had the cat jump in the picture. She also reached out to me. I had 2 question follow-up. So that was kind of cool to see a couple of them could kind of follow up and ask some questions. So glad that this session went well. I had a lot of fun talking through it. But yeah, just...
No, it was a fun session, for sure. They're all, trying to navigate, where are they going to end up and what part technology is going to play in their careers.
Yeah.
So, it was fun.
So when you're teaching that course, these are the students that are in hospitality management as their major, correct?
Yes, but these are undergrads. So most of them haven't worked in hotels. So they're still kind of playing around, trying to find their
kind of their vein of what they want to do.
Their thing. And this industry, you could take it any way you want. But certainly now with technology, there's the added layer of, imagine if you were really good at articulating a product vision. Yeah. You could just go and try it out, literally just plug it into Cursor and play around with it. That's new.
Yeah, would be cool. And that's the thing with the undergrad stuff is it's different because you're still learning about the industry.
Yeah.
And there's the basics hospitality management of managing a hotel, blah, blah, but then there's the whole, you realize there's so much more to hospitality than just that when it goes into managing a hotel, if they want to be managers or kind of what they want to do at the hotel.
Sure.
Level.
Yeah, I think when I'm thinking about these, all these students that have, they're exposed to technology, but a very certain kind of usability paradigm. It's all mobile, it's all swipeable, a lot of it is, it's voice too. They're not typing, they're just saying out loud, and then the machine does the typing. Yeah. So in terms of their expectations of how technologies should work when they enter the workspace, it's going to be very different from the Windows 95 kind of clunky UX paradigm that we've been living in.
And what's the difference between from the undergrad to the grad school courses? Is it when you do it for grad school, is that really wanting to be a hotel GM, or they wanted to go into bigger spaces? How does that kind of break out at NYU?
I think a lot of it is they have experience and that they're bringing into the table, and that could be good, but it also could kind of be a constraint factor. How hard it is.
Yeah.
I like the undergrads are kind of the unspoiled. They're just
They're still new. They know
why
they
are you doing this thing in hotels? And it's like, I think it's great for the industry to be challenged.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's really interesting because the way hospitality management probably hasn't changed a lot. Only tools and tech has, but I think this new generation is really thinking about how hospitality will change in a digital age, because we're starting to see it now with check-in kiosks and things of that nature, right? But it's still early. And so that's why it's kind of interesting to see from like an undergrad to a grad student. And what you don't realize is how much is in the hospitality space.
A lot of opportunity, but I also think that a lot of them feel, I don't know if confusion or angst is the right word, but like there is this sense of what are the jobs that are going to be out there? It's one of the kind of big industries in terms of employment, but what are the jobs, and what are the ways that you could work your way up in an organization if those entry level jobs aren't there? I mean, there are a lot of big kind of foundational issues for the industry. I think that especially the undergrads are struggling with, and I'm just trying to lean into the opportunities, but I mean the challenges are real.
Yeah, and that's what's really unique, because there's the hotel management, right? Wanting to manage or be a part of a specific hotel. There's then the chains, which you have like large corporates, and there's like the corporate side of it versus like on the ground side. There's also management companies, especially in the States, where you own different flags. And so each hotel runs a little bit differently based on brand standards of the flags. And so depending on where you want to get into hospitality management, is that at the basic level, like being a GM or managing food and bev, or is that at a corporate level? That's where I think it's really interesting, because it all has different experiences on the experience of the guest journey.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like, that's what I find very unique working with different hotel groups in Europe, where they're owned and they use the same tech stack across the whole portfolio, versus the US, where it's management companies. They have multiple flags in their portfolios. They have multiple brand standards. Does create a little bit of unique, interesting
Yeah, it's
challenge
kind of
on.
more fragmented, I guess, in terms of but I don't know. I don't know how many students are aiming for they have a very clear mind of like a corporate career in hospitality. I mean, a lot of them like traveling. They like, uh, creativity. They like to express themselves. They want to be, unique. So I think the big groups um, um, might have a challenge in attracting like the best talent.
Yeah, because from a travel side of things, if you're working at a hotel level, you're at that hotel.
Yeah.
Right? And the corporate level, you're either the corporate office, or there are certain jobs that you go out and about and do these things, and you're activating new hotels depending on the type of role. So that's what's also interesting with the hospitality industry, is like, what do you want to do? And what is the experience you want to have? And what is the impact you want to make? Because there's so many different.
Yeah, but I think the big, as I say it, I mean, a big overarching, topic that I'm trying to engage the students on is like there are a lot of opportunities in this space, but you gotta like hospitality to be in this space. Those jobs that are further removed from the act of hospitality, I think they're gonna be fewer. While the jobs that are like literally guest facing, or if it's on the owner side, creativity, kind of coming up with new concepts. I think those are interesting. That's going to be I think, an interesting new direction for the industry. Really going back to the basics of like innkeeping.
Yeah.
You need a property and a personality.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's the difference too. That's why I'm so fascinated by this conversation, this topic, is that when you look at the way hotels are ran today, you have your experiential hotels and resorts, and those are either part of a management company, a small owner operator group, or they're kind of independent. It's very different than the corporate level, where they have all the same look and feel. And a lot of times, if you're a GM, you're working more on that foundational level at the hotel, and somebody else is kind of thinking more of the technology level. And this is where that switch, when we were challenged them when we did the session at NYU, was you got to think about that, and where you decide to play in the space depends on like where your brain wants to go. Are you you want to be in front of customers all day, you want to run a hotel, you want to have that service level and that experience of working with guests, or do you want to be thinking more creatively on full scale problems across the portfolio? And like that's just going to be very unique as we move.
Yeah, and I think we're entering a golden era of hospitality, but we're gonna have to figure out what machines are good at and what humans are good at.
Yeah.
And and just because you can kind of mimic machine behavior, or you're really good at like copy pasting or like numbers, like I don't know how much of that there's going to be in hospitality going forward. And so I think it's a huge opportunity to kind of attract people to 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 yeah to be more, guest facing, and or creative. People are going to have more time than ever to eat, travel, socialize. So I mean, very bullish on the industry. But yeah, there's also a lot of like kind of short-term anxiety, I think.
Yeah. And it's interesting with hospitality too, is if you want to work at a hotel, it's not a traditional 9 to 5, right? It's not Monday through Friday. Weekends, there's different holidays, there's different kind of schedules. And that opens up the ability to be a lot more flexible, which kind of fits in with the younger generation of wanting flexible work, different hours. Like they don't look at weekends the same, right? The younger generations look at weeks very differently than, let's say, my generation, your generation, or our parents' generation, which is like Monday through Friday, you clock in 9 to 5. The evening's yours for family, the weekend's yours for relaxing. And I think it's much more fluid as we get to the younger generations who grew up in this sense of time's a little bit different.
You're right. But yeah, you're right. But I do think that, I don't know, it might be just me as a parent, but hospitality is really hard. Like the sacrifices that you make, it's hard work. And so, yes, you'll have some flexibility, but we've always had flexibility in hospitality. We're working weekends, but the idea that you have holidays off, it's such a fundamental kind of self-actualization of this next generation of like, yeah, I want to be traveling during the holidays and post about it. No, dude, you're going to be working, in a guest-facing kind of high-intensity role. So it's more flexibility, but the jobs that are left for humans are going to be, they're going to be demanding jobs. Are fun if you're inclined, if you like people, you want to be around people, and you want to be in a kind of dynamic setting where you need to be on your feet. Like that's amazing, but the more kind of rigid of well-managed workflows, I don't know if this is the industry for that.
Yeah,
if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to keep on this topic, but we're going to cut into kicking off the episode. We are back for another episode of Hospitable. We're here in New York City at the office with my friend Fredrik Sjoberg. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, it's Dr. Sjoberg.
Dr. Sjoberg. Dr. Sjoberg. You and I met through the ecosystem, professor for hospitality management at NYU, but you're also founder of an AI hospitality tech startup. Quick intro on your background in hospitality and how you got into the space.
Well, I mean, I'm a recovering operator. Started my first hotel or lodging operation back in the 90s, before the booking engines, before any of that stuff. Did everything, love it. I mean, I wanted to make money. But I've been in and out of operations, but also being dragged more and more into technology, because you can't really operate a hotel without technology. And now, of course, everything's about AI, and I was considering teaching a lot more, but now I'm ending up building a lot more. So, I mean, what can I do?
Yeah. So Dr. Sjoberg is, we met and we did a workshop. What we're talking about is we kicked off things here. Came in, did a couple workshops for your undergraduate class, and one of their kind of cornerstone projects was how to innovate hospitality operations through technology, right? And I thought that was really cool because we met and it kind of aligned with what we're doing at Omniboost. we ended up sitting down for coffee for like an hour and a half, and came in and did 2 workshops, and now we're here. And so I love talking about this, and kind of keeping on this theme of former operator, and we're talking about hotel operations is interesting, and it's not structured. It's not your 9 to 5. And I think the young generation loves to work in hospitality. They want to travel, the lifestyle of it, but also what does that mean to work in it? And I know back when I was young, on the radio, they used to always have service industry nights. Sin night was always Sunday night, right? So all those that work in hospitality that had to work over the weekend, Sunday night and Monday night, were your nights to go out and enjoy. And we look at holidays, and you were kind of bringing this up just a second ago. Holidays have changed, and yes, we still have cultures that have your traditional summer holidays, whatever. But I think as things progress, especially with the millennial generation having more dinks, so dual income, no kids, traveling, the nomadic lifestyle, the fact that we can work from anywhere, the remote working life, holidays aren't the same. Like, holidays are whenever you want to go and what makes sense for your schedule. And I do think that opens up the door that you have a traditional holiday schedule where people are going to travel, which means hospitality has to be there and workers have to be there. But this idea of the holiday schedule is going to open up.
No, I think, you're right. But that goes for both demand for the days in between the holidays, but also supply of workers. There are going to be people that are going to be more flexible, even on holidays, because not everyone takes the holidays with the same level of seriousness.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of opportunities to match the demand for travel and experiences with like the supply for it, because it's such a fundamentally human thing, to be hosting, like literally like having people over, and make some money on the side. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah. As a former operator, when you travel, what are the things that you look for in a hotel? When you're booking travel and you're staying at a hotel, do you have specific things that you look for at that hotel to stay in, or do you just kind of pick closest, cheapest? Like, what's your methodology?
That's a good question. I just got back from a trip to Dallas, first time, and I can't help myself. I have to look at the indie hotels at the outskirts, at like an area that's kind of up and coming. And every time I go to one of these places, the Uber driver is looking at me as if I'm crazy. There's no hotel here. Where is this place? So I stayed at this like Lark property in the Brooklyn of Dallas. Absolutely awesome. It looked like a residential area, but from the inside and from the whole experience, absolutely loved it. But yeah, I mean, I didn't get any loyalty points for that. I booked direct. I don't mind doing a little bit of research when I go, even if it's just like an in and out corporate stay. I know it's not for everyone, but I might be like it's kind of like a professional kind of type of thing.
Well,
I just have to.
It's also your Brooklyn mentality, right?
Yeah.
Perfectly, you're wearing your Brooklyn hat on this podcast.
I do it.
I asked this question because I'm similar. Like, depending on what I'm going for, whether it's work or kind of personal, if I have the opportunity to be in city center, I always love to be like in the heart of it. That's the New Yorker in me. Like, love being in the middle of it. But there are certain areas where I like finding kind of the up and coming areas. When I was in Greece, in Athens, we stayed right in the city center, but then we went and explored outside, and I was like, wow, this is the place I want to stay. And next time I'm here, stay in this neighborhood, the up and coming part. And you experience that. So I like write a mental checklist. Like, when I'm back in Athens, I want to stay in this part of the city.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't, whenever I'm in a city, I don't really move around a lot. That's why I want to pick the hotel in the area that where I could just kind of,
you're going to
be, because I mean, you're out all day. I mean, especially if it's like work. So it's, you've got the window in the evening, perhaps a dinner, breakfast the day after. There's only so much time you have to spend. So Yeah, no, I mean finding those gems, and actually a lot of times I'll reach out to the operator too. I just want to talk to the owner or the operator to learn about like what's going on and what were you thinking, and it's kind of chit chatting.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see where those things play out. Because like for when I went to London with my twin brother and our significant others, and we actually stayed kind of on the outskirts, kind of over by the Shard, but right on a subway line. So when I look at places, I always want to be on a subway line because I don't mind traveling the whole city as long as I have quick access to public
Yeah, no, for
transportation.
sure.
So I'm always kind of picking like hotels and places to stay based off that, so we can kind of enjoy a certain area, whether that's city center or like a really cool district, but then have quick access to be able to explore the full city. So I'm always kind of looking at, what is accessibility.
But I mean, it is funny nowadays how Uber's made it so that, I mean, the logistics of it, the hassle is kind of gone. You can move around. Sure, in a city like London, we prefer the subway. I mean, I used to live there, but I show up in Texas and everything's new to me in Dallas. But the Uber experience, like I don't need that to be exciting. I just want to get from point A
Yeah,
to
to point B.
B, and I get to talk to the person. But it doesn't need to be like I don't need to cognitively be engaged with like scheduling or bus tickets or like anything like that. And I find that just reduces the friction of going, perhaps deeper into some interesting neighborhoods where that we wouldn't go, have gone because they weren't on the subway.
But also think about that from the experience level, right? Is hotels can have experiences outside of city center and different things because it is so easy to get there. You don't need to you used to have a map and you had to do everything on a physical map and you had to make sure you had a bus ticket or transportation lined up. And now it's like we could just go whenever, whether you wake up at 6 a.m. or 10 a.m., you have ability to get anywhere you want and go explore and have that experience. Because when you think about hospitality, the one thing I love about this industry, especially from a hotel standpoint, is hotels are part of the community, right?
Yeah,
When
well,
you
that's the
put a
beauty.
hotel
Yeah,
there, they provide jobs, they bring in business, they bring in new people, they bring in experiences, and they're there to really uplift the community, whether that's a block in New York City or that's a small town in Iowa. It's there to provide an experience and bring in business for the wider community. So it's part of that community and it needs to be run as such. And it gives operators and management companies and chains the ability to put hotels in locations they may not have thought of before because you're trying to stay close to city center because that's where all the action is. Now the action's everywhere, and you have much more ability to
yeah,
create
no, for
really
sure,
random,
for
unique
sure.
experiences.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I mean that's why I like. I mean, I pick a property that's cool, got great reviews, and has enough of an offering around it, so I can just show up there. And I know there's a bar, I know there's a coffee shop, I know there's like some basic food and beverage, if even if it's not right by like a strip of restaurants. But yeah, no, the Madison, I recommend it. Dallas is cool. I
I
love
love
it.
it. Yeah, I've been to Dallas a few times, so
Yeah,
it's so fun. It's a big city,
yeah.
a lot going on, a lot of traffic, but it's super unique in its own way.
Yeah, no, I loved it. Yeah, I had probably had too much beef, but yeah, no, it's a cool place.
So when we talk about being a former operator, talking about connectivity, when you were running hotels, it's very different, right? Now technology has been crazy, and I know that you post a lot of videos on your LinkedIn when you do experiences at hotels, taking your class to see these, and you're looking at PMSs and connectivity. How has that changed your view on operations? Like, you always love to go talk to them, but like when you're looking at this idea of connectivity and hotel operations, how has it changed your view? Because it feels like you were an operator, then you were teaching, and now you're kind of dragged back into the day-to-day operations now that you're a founder of a company doing this stuff. How do you look at it? How has that changed in your eyes? And what's so unique about this idea of connectivity in the hospitality space?
It's a good question. I still don't think that operators realize quite how useful the data can be, um, because they can't easily access the data. So, um, I mean, in my mind, it's been clear for a very long time. Not when I started in the '90s, because there was like we didn't even have a PMS, uh, much less a booking engine. But I think we're in this interesting moment right now where people talk about data and about what you could do with data, but even if there's a lot of talk about it and you kind of intuitively understand how the data could be used to personalize the experience or for like, reporting or optimizing, purposes for like revenue management, whatever it is, it's still quite fragmented and there aren't a lot of really kind of mind-blowing use cases where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you were able to stitch those data sources together to turn into something that's really kind of production ready, industrial kind of.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is still, I find, just kind of previewing what you could do if you were to connect the different data sources. But I mean, the people that get into hospitality aren't always the most data-driven technical people. So we have this like underlying kind of like foundational shift going on in terms of data availability, where cloud was the one that kind of really pushed it. And now we have this like group of operators that aren't quite sure. And then there's the vendors that jump into this space and to kind of, they demo a lot, but it's early days, man.
Yeah.
Like it's early days.
It is. And it's interesting from a data standpoint. Everyone thinks that AI is going to fix it, and AI is going to help. But at the end of the day, data is only as good as the data coming in. If it's good data, then it can be used. If it's bad data, it's going to be bad out, right? Bad in, bad out, good in, good out. And this is where there's so much technology in hospitality, from OTAs to booking engines to PMSs, counting, rev management, all these things. But they don't all play nice in the sandbox. And so how do you actually leverage a connectivity layer that makes that seamless? And then how do you leverage that into actually utilizing your data? And do you have ownership of your data? Do you not? You have big brands that have the franchisee models, so they have oversight of some of the data, but they don't have the day-to-day. And this is where it's just scratching the surface of what can be done. And it goes back to this kind of fundamental question of hospitality is always, first and foremost, going to be human. But how does technology, machines, et cetera, impact that to offset some of the mundane, repetitive stuff so that humans can be more hospitable and do more things? And where does that kind of rub happen? I think everyone's kind of scared. Everyone's looking at it. Everyone's excited. But it's a very unique situation of where we sit for the hospitality industry, and what, at the end of the day, hospitality still needs to be hospitable, and you still need people to do that.
But I mean, I think we're gonna go back to the basics of this industry. I don't know, what's the equivalent, like man with a van. I mean, you just have a property and you have a personality. That's it, PP, whatever. You need to be physically present in a property to deliver, hospitality. And your service concept can vary. The distribution and the pricing and the accounting and the payment, like all of that stuff, I think is just going to be in the background. The operator is not going to be in front of a screen. The operator is going to be on their feet. Yeah. That's what hospitality always was.
Absolutely.
But so then what needs to happen in terms of the tech stack for it to be truly interoperable? I think most hoteliers aren't really quite able to articulate what it would even take.
Yeah.
Because they're only now getting comfortable with like a modern PMS, kind of cloud-based PMS, and now we're already taking it away from them. I mean, it's so I think we're just kind of scratching the surface of what it could be, but I do think that it's going to be easier than ever to open a hotel and to manage a hotel really professionally. All you need is, essentially personality, creativity, and presence, and then the rest can just be kind of stitched together in a kind of almost hidden fashion. And that's where all these like integration layers come in.
And that's where that connectivity, that integration layer becomes truly dynamic if you have the right systems and the automation is there. That seamless kind of connectivity, which what Omniboost does, right? That automation layer, you can actually leverage that to having a single source of truth. In fact, we actually just announced that we have our kind of new look and feel from our data warehouse product into a single source of truth with a unification layer and dashboarding, where you have all the data right at your fingertips to really look at it from a strategic level, from a day-to-day op versus kind of your C-level operations. And that's where this becomes really interesting, because it can run automatically. Our integrations run every day. You don't have to do manual work. You're reducing that. But you look at it, you do the reconciliation, you have that data day on day, so you can actually leverage that information to improve your day-to-day operations. That human interaction can be more impactful with the right system set up and the right kind of process.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where these modern hoteliers need to really understand what that looks like. And then you brought up this point about like having a presence and personality. You know, there's the difference between the hotels that are being built with a very distinct look, feel, vibe experience, but then you have your kind of corporate hotels, your chains that have the same look and feel. And how do you think that's going to change as
I think it's going to be hard to, I mean, you're in any product category, you have the, you know, the kind of the commodified space, you know, but the question is like, where do you want to compete? Do you want to compete with like price with a commodified product, or do you want to, you know, find a niche and get some more pricing power? You know, build a brand, you know, lean into experiences, like the things where the profit margin can be great. And it's also, you know, I mean, a lot of people feel like it's what excites them. But you know, there's going to be both.
I mean, there's brands that you have to have that are like the same look and feel, and they're there, and you know what you're going to get when you step into. And then you have this other, and I think that's what's going to be interesting too. Is, you know, we've transitioned from kind of quiet luxury to luxury out loud.
Yeah,
meaning.
No, that's a good point. Yeah,
and you have the timeless minimalist, right? Like, you know, my wife's a designer for an Italian architect design firm that is very like timeless in their look, feel, and style. But then you have the ones that are going to really be in the moment of now. And how do they iterate? Like, do they stay funky and fresh from the 60s and 70s? Do you kind of make that retro look? Do you have something new that kind of iterates over time? Do you build like a, you know, botanical garden in the middle of it? Like I was at the Bellagio and they have that botanical garden thing in the middle. You know, it's just crazy to think, what is that going to look like, you know, in terms of hotels with a certain vibe and experience, and how they play in with a wider portfolio versus, you know, you have properties and hotels like in Montana and Wyoming and in Colorado that are seasonal, and they are like 4 rooms. And it's for very distinct, and you have like longer guest stays. You're not there for 1 or 2 days, you're there for a week. How is that going to play out? And all these things make a really cool piece, because there is those different segments. There's, you know, basic all the way through upper upscale, and you have unique. And I think that's where this idea of hospitality management can be really fun, and that the operators and management companies are going to have some really interesting things to do, is looking at new properties versus acquiring properties versus building, and what that looks like.
Yeah, but I think standing out with like, in, you know, trying to be unique is always going to be appealing. And then eventually, you know, there's going to be consolidation, it's going to be watered down, it's standardization, but then the cycle starts anew. I think with these new technologies now, it's going to be easier to iterate. You can spin up quite a unique concept. Perhaps it's a hotel with a co-working thing on top, and it's got like a, you know, like a whatever, like a spa element or some kind of experience element there. And in terms of a tech stack, to make that a seamless kind of bookable product suite, like that was a nightmare. But now you can start stitching, you know, the different systems together so that you can just kind of spin this thing up. And perhaps it's I don't know, like, you know, a glamping and you know, just out in a field. Like, I think lowering the bar for experimentation is going to be good for humanity. Because we're going to be looking for things that makes us feel human.
And with a connected cloud-based systems and having the integration layer and all these things, you would also put hotels in remote places where you can have these experiences. You could actually bring them apart and do some really cool things and open up for so many more.
Yeah, but also in going back to the Uber example, like the logistics hurdle, you know, with robo-taxis, we're going to make the world's going to be accessible. So in terms of real estate too, like you don't need to be paying a premium. You know, you find a unique spot with a unique concept, with a kind of interoperable, kind of easy to use tech stack gets you off the ground. And then you start iterating. And especially if you come from like the tech kind of, or like hospitality tech, hybrid world, in the technology world, it's all about iteration. In hospitality, the development cycles, I mean, if you've opened hotels, it's insane timeline that you go through with all the permitting and everything. And I think we're entering this new era where why would you want to open up a high-rise hotel in a regulated market like New York when you can, in the time it takes you to just get the permit, you could have tried out like 12 different concepts, and one in the Catskills, one out on the North Fork, one in Jersey, to kind of get a feel for whether that's going to be the product, instead of waiting for the 5-year development cycle to be wrapped up, and then you're like, oh well, corporate travel is out.
Yeah, it's gonna be unique. We talk about connectivity and this tech stack, and then the next phase is, what can AI do? And I know that you brought up that you were kind of brought back in to being more in the, instead of teaching full time, you're brought back in and you start up a startup in the AI space. What is AI? How is that going to change? What do you see really happening with AI in the hospitality space today and then kind of future?
It's a good question. And I mean, the honest answer is we don't know, but we've got a feel for the amount of work that you do, the amount of busy work that you do at a hotel. I mean, the night audit might be a good example, like a canonical example of something that we're going to look at and go like, wait, a machine could do that better than a human.
Or an integration.
Yeah. But yeah, that mindset, we don't know where this is going to end up. So I just want to build, I want to build a product into this space. We launched the conversational AI agent embedded on hotel websites, where if you have specific questions before you book, we're going to look back at hotel websites as these like static tools that didn't really address the pain points of the customers. Sure, there were like booking engines where you could scroll through images and you could get like a price calendar. But if you want to know about the allergens on the breakfast buffet, if you want to know about accessibility of your suite, or if you want to know, basics about the pet policy, it's insane how deep into the hotel website you need to go to find that information.
Yeah.
So you could call, right? You could call the hotel and ask. Some people like that. Some people might even prefer that. I think a lot of people, might be a generational thing. A lot of people, I think, would just rather have that information. So yeah, we're built into that. It's funny, like it's going live really left, right, and center. But anyone asking me, okay, so what's your vision, or where is this going to end up? I mean, the honest answer is we don't know. I mean, you just add features on top of this, both guest facing and kind of operator tools. We don't know, but there's certainly a lot of workflows that are could be improved by automation and personalization.
Yeah, and I think that's what's kind of unique, is everyone's using AI or talking about it, but what does that actually mean? And a lot of times AI isn't real AI right now. Like, it's still having a scratch surface of implementing. So conversational AI, a tool like that can just easily be used. We want to text, we want to be able to do quick things, especially the millennial Gen Z, right? They didn't grow up on the phone, right? They're not calling. Sure. And you're right, a lot of these websites are very static, old, they're hard to find information. How do we find it quicker, faster, so we can make decisions if we're wanting to evaluate? I actually played around with ChatGPT and actually having it plan a trip for me just to see what it comes up with. And it's amazing what you can do and how you can optimize without doing hours and hours of research like you had to do when you're visiting a new city, to simplifying that from hours and hours to 2 hours.
No, for sure.
Having a full agenda, and then finding a place. Airbnb got really big. Now you have Vrbo, but then crack down on that as well. And the hotels are kind of coming back of a very unique experience where you can actually, because sometimes the hard part about going to a hotel is you just have a bed, maybe a little desk, and maybe a little fridge, but it doesn't feel like somewhere, and you're not meant to stay in your hotel room the whole time, right? That's kind of the idea. It's kind of like living in New York. You have an apartment to live in the city. but we also want to be able to have a place that doesn't feel like if we're in that room, we're doing it wrong. You want to actually feel relaxed. And so the hotel experience has changed. And AI tools are going to really help people be able to maximize what they're looking for
Oh, for sure.
in an experience, right? Not just from the location of the hotel, but the whole ecosystem around it. Like if I want to stay at this hotel in this part of the city, what's around it that I can do within 5-minute walk, 15-minute walk, and what other things am I missing in the city if I stay in the Brooklyn of Dallas versus downtown Dallas?
No, for sure. And I think a lot of that is going to come down to like the good operators are going to be working hard on like curated content. And how do they display that to their customer and the guest pool efficiently?
Yeah.
And it's travel after all. So there are a lot of people that come in with a different language. And if you can have an AI concierge that really kind of clones like the best concierge that you have,
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you don't need to have someone, scouting for like nice, kind of curated content.
Yeah.
But if you feed that into a bot that you can customize yourself as an operator, it immediately gives it, it makes it this whole world that you're talking about. Not only the bed, but the actual whole service landscape. It opens that up to people before they book and throughout your stay in a way that I think we're going to look back at this and go like, oh my God, can you imagine when you had like printouts in the rooms and you had like TV screen with like some different channels and information? I think that's a great win. That's what we're trying to build, and it's early days, but yeah, hotels seem to love it. Like they love that idea. It's a very intuitive idea that fits well with like the hospitality mindset. It's like service, giving this information in an easy, accessible format in all languages.
Yeah. And you're going to still need your like high level concierge to get like certain tickets or certain experiences, right? But for the basic traveler, and I talked earlier about hotels are part of the community. So being able to have a conversational AI tool that also says, hey, you're going to be here for 5 days. Here's things around town that you should know about it. Think about New York City is a little different because it's so big, but think about the hotel in, let's say small town Iowa, in Ames, college town, or Iowa City, and you're there for a week for a game, visiting your kid at college or something, and you want to also explore kind of the hidden gems of a small town in the Midwest or somewhere around the world, and you could ask, why I'm here. I have 3 days to do X, Y, Z. I really love coffee, museums, etc. What's in the area, and having a conversation on it. It's like, well, actually, if you stay here, you have this, this, and this within a 10-minute commute to also do, and you can add this to your agenda here and actually help you build out an experience that you're not just going with that one thing, or you're going with that one thing in mind, but now you have 5 other things that you can do to fill your time to have a full experience. So you don't feel like, okay, I'm just going here to see this person to do this one thing, but now you have a whole itinerary of things you can do.
For sure. But I think what's going to happen is that, the foundational models, the open AIs of the world are going to be providing these type of services, but there's going to be ads embedded into that flow. So I think if the hotels can own and control that narrative, it's like the analogy would be, imagine a hotel, like a full service, ambitious hotel operator that would outsource their AI concierge to like Google. No, they want to control the products that they're putting in front of their customers, their guests. They want to control the recommendations. They want to partner up for promotions and all of that stuff. That's the kind of stuff that the foundational models aren't going to be giving out. It's certainly not giving out for free. So if the hotels have a tool that allows them to communicate in all languages to their own guests, perhaps some of that content is gated, so you need to have a booking to kind of get access to it. But that becomes this ongoing dialogue between the guest and the operator on the operator's term, without like ads or any other kind of considerations injected into that conversation. It's just what the operator wants you to experience.
And you can also build that experience based on, if you know that your hotel gets mostly business travel, you don't want to be like, oh, go see a show. They're here for business. Hey, if you want to do a client meeting, here's 5 restaurants we recommend that are perfect for meetings with clients. Like you can also curate that to knowing what your guest is. So if you have the data on what your guest is or who your guest is and how long they stay
Exactly.
and all that, you can then train that model to really provide the experience they want. And if it's a out of town guest that's there for pleasure versus business, they have a whole different tract of information that you can give from an operator level and different partnerships and things for the community. So you're curating to business travel or the
For
pleasure
sure.
traveler.
And I think that hyper personalization that we all been talking about for forever, I think it's closer than we think. You plug in your conversational agent into your CRM. You provide a very user-friendly tool to the operator to be able to essentially, monitor and set the boundaries and hand over a little bit more and more autonomy to this engine that can personalize, the stay. And that's, I mean, I think we're finally on the kind of we're finally seeing what that would look like. But yeah, it's early days. I mean, it could go a bunch of different ways, but
yeah, because also if they own that tooling, right, they can also filter in data that they own to help it provide recommendations or leverage things that an open platform wouldn't be able to do, right? Because you don't want your data. And that's where I think this gets really unique and interesting on how this continues to play in the hospitality space and hyper personalization versus personalization at scale, but also from a marketing standpoint, leveraging this to make data-driven decisions on marketing to your target audience. Because some hotels are meant for short stays, in and out, high turnover. Some are meant for long. And you can actually take all that. So there's different levels to data from the connectivity layer to make good data-driven decisions on operations. Then the next layer of making data-driven decisions from operations to marketing to our target audience, then experiences to our target audience. And then you create this full funnel where the experience feels intuitive and each guest feels like they were heard and they were unique and they had this unique experience. That's kind of one of one versus one of many.
No, I mean, I'm quite convinced, and it might be considered kind of, utopian, but I'm quite convinced, Rob, that we are going to be in the near future, when you call a hotel and you say, talk to agent, what you mean is talk to an AI agent. Because the AI agents are going to be empowered to work more efficiently in 9 out of 10 of your kind of cases. There might be edge cases for sure.
Yeah, you're gonna have
a weird refund thing or a say like a cancellation or a line item in an invoice that you want to dispute. Like there will be cases like that, but in 9 out of 10, you just want to know: is there early check-in? How much is it? Can I connect these 2 rooms or not? Can we get an extra bed? Like the basic requests that quite hard to do right now, even in the more kind of forward-leaning booking engines. So I think we're entering this world where you are going to allow the machines to take care of 9 out of 10 of these cases. The operator is going to have full visibility into, how the system works, to set the boundary conditions for how the system should operate. And the role of the operator is going to be essentially more guest facing, and the system part is just going to be more just tracking what the system does. And that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
I think it's a good thing for the guests. It's a good thing for the operators. It lowers the bar for entry into this industry that at times can feel slightly intimidating.
Very much.
What does a GM do? Well, I mean, if you have a couple of digital GM co-pilots with you, I mean, it could be crazy. The difference between, do you want to do this business or no?
Yeah. And, we always talk about AI is going to take jobs away. And that, to an extent, yes, but what AI is here to do and what this automation, all these things do, is that it makes your ability to have human interactions much more. And so you can focus on bigger things. So if you have something like a conversational AI tool that can handle up to 40-50% of like your tier 1 basic questions, so that only time that you're actually talking to a human are on these kind of specific escalations, then you actually have a much more operational efficient team, processes, but also you have more people that can focus on other parts of the business where you can actually drive revenue versus just answering questions all the time. And this is where, AI and some of these automation tools can really help focus on taking away some of those basic things that just kind of clog up your
Yeah, I
normal
mean, but the
system.
busy work in this industry, the industry is full of it, and it depends on the concept, right? Like certain service concepts really want you to engage in person for everything you do. But there are people, even at high-end resorts, that just want their key. They don't want to have that conversation about. So I think you can't be in this industry and be service-minded without giving the options to the
Yeah.
guest. If you want to chat and you want to chat in your own language and just get immediate responses, high end or kind of any level of hotel are going to have these tools available. And that doesn't mean that you're replacing all the humans, especially at the high end, properties, because they, as you say, they're going to be doing more valuable things for those cases where it really matters if it's a human. I'm actually quite bullish on call center sales. I'm like leaning into AI full stop. I don't think reservation departments really, are here to stay. But meeting and events, sales, human call centers with agents that have actually been on site, they know the product, they know the property, and they know the target segment.
Yeah.
Those humans that have a unique personality too, I think they can add a lot.
Yeah.
So like figuring out under what conditions are humans better at doing certain things, and what conditions are machines better. I think we're going to find some really interesting hybrids.
Yeah.
Where I'm not pretending that I know where this is going, but it's going to
None
be
of
an
us do.
interesting conversation to have. And the hotel groups, high end or medium kind of scale that are experimenting, they're going to reap the benefit.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was at, there's some hotels that are leaning into digital check-in, like at one person, but everyone kind of checks in and you don't really need to talk to a human. Some still have an old school, but I was in Vegas for a large flag for their annual conference, and we stayed at the Bellagio, and the Bellagio had check-out kiosks, but no check-in. And so the line was so long. And for a hotel in Vegas where they want to get you to go spend money as quickly as possible, I was in the line that was short, like maybe 10, 12 people ahead of me. It took me 30 minutes to get to check in. And I remember coming back and seeing that line snaked around 5, 6 times, thinking that's probably an hour and a half. They had 5 people up front. Think about if you can optimize to those that just want to come in and check in really quickly and not talk to anybody, just check in, boom, boom, get their key, go check into their room, and then get to the gambling floor or to the restaurant. The money that each guest spends is going to be higher because they're not waiting for an hour to get checked in. And this is where it changes the game.
Like some people and a lot of hotels actually want to have that human connection at the front desk with their guests because it's an opportunity to upsell, it's an opportunity to build that connection. But to argue, for this industry, to argue that checking someone in is a service, that's over. Like it's not a service in most cases for you to ask for the documents that the person has already provided when they book.
Yeah.
Like, and to fill in forms in paper. We're for good reasons being pushed to rethink some of those workflows.
Yeah.
But I think the good hotels are going to allow for optionality, and it's going to be more of a kind of an introduction to the property in a more concierge type of way, which some people might want to bypass. And that's all about optionality. We're all individuals, have individual needs. And I'm excited about that because that to me breaks up these like rigid ways of doing things, and operators that are leaning into these can take market share.
And I love the optionality because sometimes I want to just get in and get out. And sometimes I like going to the desk and having a conversation when I get there after, especially funny enough, when I travel a long distance, I actually like when I go to Europe and overnight, I actually like getting to like check in and talk to somebody because it kind of gets me into the flow of like that time zone versus like when I travel out to the West Coast, I kind of just want to get checked in and get moving, right? It's a little bit different. But even like optionality from the standpoint, when I go to our headquarters, I stay at the same hotel. I always stay at the same hotel. I like it. But it gets to a point where they always offer breakfast. And like for me, one of the things I always love about hotels is they offer breakfast in the room rate. I'm always looking for that. So that to me is an immediate like big thing for me. And last time I was there, not last time, a couple of times before, but I've leveraged this now moving forward. I was there one time and they're like, oh, I was like, I'm checking out really early. I gotta get on the road to go catch my flight. I gotta leave here at 5:30. It's before breakfast opens up. I know that usually the front desk lady doesn't come in. What's the plan for that? Like, oh, actually, no, just come on down. We'll have somebody check you out. We have a person that handles overnight. Also, if you want, we can do a bag breakfast. It's like, really? So now, and I usually, when I leave, I always leave early in the morning. So now they actually give me a bag breakfast and a cup of coffee on my way out the door. So I tell them I'm checking out at 5:30. They have a bag breakfast with a cup of coffee waiting for me. And it's like, that to me is amazing because they took that time. I brought that up once and they noticed that I was always leaving early.
For
and
sure.
now, like, that's why I love that optionality. I got to talk to somebody and they saw that and they realized it's like, hey, we can do this for you.
Yeah.
It's been a game changer. And I go every 6 weeks. I stay at the same hotel.
Yeah.
Every time I come back, like, oh, Rob, you're back. And even the bartender's like, oh, Mr. Napoli, you're back. And I'm like, I love that, and she always knows, she knows when I sit down the bar, she doesn't even ask anymore. Pours me that first beer.
Yeah.
Like, she just knows I've been there enough time. And like those things that you want to have when you travel kind of more heavily versus maybe not. And that's that optionality. Having that there is a big difference.
No, for sure. For sure.
Getting in.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, it's yeah, it's funny. I was just staying at this other property in Dallas, young group of owners, first time hotel operators. And I had no idea. It was one of the cheapest hotels around, but I wanted to try it out because it was close to the venue where it had to be, but it's also like in a block in the city that was not even up and coming. So I'm like, wait, that's interesting. Why would you open a hotel there? So I had no idea. I didn't know if it was going to be like a, kiosk check-in or complete self-service or anything. As I approached this building, big windows, and I see this glow coming from inside because there are a couple of people at the bar. There is a bar.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple of lounge chairs, and that for a kind of a really quite an affordable hotel experience to get that hotel glow as you walk in. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it didn't require much from them. The whole kind of experience was very kind of streamlined and no fuss, but there was that level of hospitality that made it feel really human. So, yeah, I mean, the room was actually a windowless room. The room itself, you could have had that without any of that lobby hotel-like experience. But in terms of what I remember and the feeling, it didn't come from what happened in the room. And I just slept. But I mean, it really came from that whole experience. We had a great, chat about, Dallas Stars and ice hockey and the kind of things that you really don't talk to with a robot. You know?
I mean, I love a good lobby vibe. I stayed at this hotel in Phoenix, or in Scottsdale, just outside of Phoenix. And I remember I loved the lobby. The bar was super nice and eclectic, always people. They had a pool table, they had pinball machines, they had a big video screen and a bunch of coffee seats. It's like you felt that any time you went down there, whether you were going down there for a drink or you were down there to work, you had space and it was a great vibe. And I'm a big fan of like a good lobby, a hotel lobby experience. And then another really cool that you're talking about is there's this management group that we work with that in Nashville, on the east side of Nashville, they open up a long-term and short-term stay. So it's one building, long-term stay.
I love East Nashville.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Long-term up top, you get like apartment style, and then you have the hotel on the bottom. And what they did is that East Nashville is kind of not connected. So what they did is they bought the whole land. They put the Live Nation offices out there. They put a coffin shop, a pizza parlor, a Soho house, and then this building. And because of Uber, when we talk about transportation is now super accessible, it really helped. They bought like 5 miles of land and built around it and created this whole hyper-connected ecosystem to have this hotel. And it's such cool where you can actually explore different parts of the city and not have to be in the thick of downtown Nashville, but you're there in 5 minutes and you can kind of come out and feel like you have space and you get this really kind of eclectic vibe. And that's where the hospitality industry can go with connected systems, with tooling and AI and the stuff they can do to really create unique experiences.
I think it's going to be, it actually, if anything, it lowers the bar for bringing hospitality and the synergies between the hospitality, the anchor, that hotel, and the service providers that are around it. If you lower that bar, for entry, I think it's going to be a great era of
Absolutely. And
experimentation.
we started off with this whole thing that hotels are part of the community. They create community. They create economic buying
Yeah.
in the community. So if you lower that bar to create really cool experiences and unknown places, you just open the opportunity to rise up communities and really give back and create amazing experiences. And that's where the hospitality industry is going with the rise of technology and how technology is going to
Amen.
make
I
this
absolutely love
such
it. No, it's great. It's a great industry to be in. I certainly encourage anyone to lean into it, even if it's we don't know where this is going to land. But on a very basic level, people need to sleep, they need to eat, and we find it immensely rewarding to socialize. It's just what humans are. So to get closer to that in a more kind of geographically distributed fashion, I don't see how that's not a good thing.
It's an
I think
amazing
it's
thing.
great.
I love it. Dr. Sorg, I appreciate the time you coming down here. I know we could chat for hours and hours, but appreciate you. For those that want to get to know, get in touch with you, learn about what your startup's doing, and how do they find you? How can they get in touch with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn or through the NYU Hotel Center page. But yeah, please feel free to reach out. I'm sure we're going to continue this conversation too.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to link his LinkedIn, the company page, and the NYU link so that you can find him and reach out to him anywhere you want. Hey, y'all. Rob Napoli, your host here. And with that, we have officially closed the final chapter of the Hospitable podcast powered by Omniboost. To all our listeners, I want to say thank you. Whether you tuned in for one episode or every episode, your time, curiosity, and support have meant the world to us. And to all of our incredible guests, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for bringing in energy. Thank you for sharing expertise, stories, and your passion for pushing hospitality forward. You've helped make this show more insightful, more human, and more meaningful than we could ever imagine. While the podcast is coming to an end, the conversations, ideas, and connections, they don't stop here. If you want to stay connected with what's next, you can always find us at www.omniboost.com, where we'll continue building, innovating, and amplifying the voices shaping the future of hospitality. And for me, if you'd like to connect, it's Rob Napoli on LinkedIn. I'll have a link to the show notes. I want to thank you all for being a part of this amazing journey. Stay curious, stay connected, and as always, stay hospitable. Stay well.